Hello everyone, thanks for joining me today. So you found a development project you'd love to do, but you've got little or no cash available at this moment of time to put into that project. So I guess the question is there a lender out there, or are there lenders out there that would provide 100% of your costs? So that both be acquisition and development costs. Well, the great news is, yes, there are. There are a number of lenders out there that will be able to help you. So this video will explain how you may be able to find 100% funding and what you need to do to potentially qualify. With mainstream development funding, you usually have to put in at least 10% of the total acquisition and build costs as an equity contribution into the deal. However, there are lenders that will offer what is typically referred to as joint venture funding. This is where you can borrow all or most of the costs involved in the project. I'll outline for you details of a 100% funding joint venture product with details about what borrowing is possible, the necessary criteria that you'll have to meet, and the pros and cons of such funding. What is joint venture funding, I hear you ask? This is a term usually applied to a loan where the lender partners with a developer and shares the profit in the deal. You, the developer, bring the opportunity, you manage the project, and the lender puts in all of the money. You find it, they fund it. So moving on, let's talk a little bit about what criteria you might need to consider or what you need to look for if you're trying to find a suitable project. So the first thing is the total cost of the project need to fall somewhere between £800,000 and £4 million. The second thing to know is the lender will cover all of the acquisition and build costs, so you shouldn't need to put in any cash. The term of the project can typically, in terms of build term and exit, can be up to 18 months. There are not normally any PGs required, as is there are not normally evaluation required, so this reduces any sort of heavy upfront fees, and the locations considered are normally across England and Wales. In terms of the particular lender that we work with for JV solutions and their appetite for deals, generally the product is for middle market residential commercial mixed type units. The borrower will need to have a good development or contracting experience and also be able to show a strong local knowledge. The maximum loan to GDV isn't so much too relevant. It's actually more about the minimum return of profit against GDV. So where we're working with a joint venture lender, you typically want to have a project that will achieve at least 29, ideally 30% plus as a return of profit against the GDV. And this is simply so that there is enough money in the project for both the lender and you to walk away with a good return. So what does it generally cost you as far as the funding itself? Rates are typically from about 1.25% per month and can go up to about 1.5% per month. And then, as well as having the interest deducted from the profit share itself is typically a 50-50 split, although that may vary slightly depending on the lender. And we work with a number of different JV lenders, so hence there could be some variety there. Joint venture funding is not a cheap way of borrowing, of course, but remember the lender is putting in all of the money and taking all of the financial risk, hence the cost of finance is increased. To give you an idea, we worked on a project recently whereby the total costs of that funding was just over 2.7 million, and the expected return after the deduction of interest and fees for the client was £363,000. So there's still a good margin and good profit and good return to be made in this type of deal, especially as it will allow you to potentially take on more than one deal at a time, which you wouldn't necessarily be able to do if you didn't have the equity to consider normal funding. If you have an opportunity that you think will fit JV funding and you want to discuss this with us, then we are an independent specialist in general property development funding, and we would love to help you through your requirement and see if we can secure the funding that you need for your project. If you'd like to discuss further, please call us today on 0207 096 2003, or you can email us at info@developermoneymarket.com. I hope you found the video useful and interesting. Look forward to hearing from you. Bye for now. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, then please don't hesitate to like, subscribe and leave a comment. If you'd like further updates on general property development news, information, guides, tips and product updates, then also please hit the notification button.